I had a gun pulled on me. I had a dog bite me. I had things yelled at me. I was treated worse than I would imagine anybody would treat a person. But it was because I was a door knocker. And so I wish I would have done that when I was 20 or 21.
You've just heard psychologist Jon Grahe. Eric had the opportunity to interview Jon for this part 2 conversation for episode 235 of Psych Sessions, Conversations About Teaching and Stuff.
Hi, my name is Brooke Wisenhunt, and I'm from Missouri State University. And one of the things that excites me about STP is that I feel like that is where I found my professional home. After spending a lot of years going to other professional academic conferences, I landed at a conference full of people from STP and really felt like this was the place that were my people. And I think that that's something that you can miss out on if you don't join this organization. So go to teachpsych.org and please join and become one of these people that is a member of our community.
Psych Sessions is proud to partner with Macmillan Learning. At Macmillan Learning Psychology, content matters, and these days, digital content matters more than ever. Macmillan Learning's Achieve elevates interactive teaching and learning with an extraordinary range of online course content in a powerful yet easy-to-use platform. Interactive ebooks, innovative assessments, engaging videos and activities, helpful instructor resources. Achieve brings it all together and makes it easy for you to find what you need and what you want. See for yourself. Go to macmillanlearning.com/psych sessions for an introductory tour today. Macmillan's Achieve for Psychology, engaging every student, supporting every instructor, setting the new standard for teaching and learning. Hey everyone, it's Garth. Psych Sessions has been around for nearly a decade, offering free professional development to listeners all over the world. And we couldn't do it without your listening support, but we also need other kinds of support from our listeners. If you could go to Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen and subscribe and like the podcast, maybe even leave a review for us, it's incredibly helpful to getting out to more teachers of psychology. And did you know that Psych Sessions is a 501c3 nonprofit organization? We can do what we do because of gifts from people like you. So please head to psychsessions.org if you would like to donate today. The best way you can help us is to become a monthly donor at any level. Is Psych Sessions worth $5 a month to you? $10 a month to you? More? Please go to psychsessions.org and give whatever you think this is worth. Your gifts keep Psych Sessions free for everyone. Our goal is to have a huge impact, and you are a part of it. Thanks.
Welcome to another episode of Psych Sessions, Conversations About Teaching and Stuff. I say this, I think, every time I record a podcast, but I'm here with a dear friend today that I get to talk to that I haven't talked to in quite some time. I'm here with Jon Grahe, and he's here for a part 2 interview. Hi, Jon.
Hello.
Okay. All right. If you're going to have one-word answers, this is going to be a shorter interview than you might have thought.
Well, you used to think I was someone that talked all the time, but in the 2 years since I've been out of academia, I don't speak at all anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
So let's go there if you want. First off, no, seriously, how are you doing? And then we'll go to your new gig.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Life is an opportunity for journeys and learning, and I've been on a journey of learning. And it's a bright sunny day. Yesterday was my 30th wedding anniversary, so it's a good time.
Yeah, I did see that on Facebook. I saw the wedding picture that you posted of Lisa, and so with very kind words and very heartfelt sentiment. And so that was nice. That's like one of the best parts of social media, right?
Right.
when you get to share stuff like that and something that's heartfelt and meaningful, and you share a part of your personal life publicly. Yeah. So Jon, you've already mentioned 2 years out of academia. I'd love to hear you tell the story for our listeners about that transition from higher ed to what I'm going to call a real job. All right. As opposed to the jobs that college professors have. What's that been like for you? And tell us about what you're doing and what you enjoy about it and what you'd want other people to know about it who might be still, I'm going to say, stuck in higher ed.
Sure. I do want to start with a little story, which is 40 years old. In junior high, we sold Reese's peanut butter cups to raise money for the band.
Yep.
And the first prize winner got, I think it was $150, second prize $75, and third prize $50. And I wanted to win. And I went out and I sold peanut butter cups. One of my favorite sales was a person that said, "You already sold me a peanut butter cups." And I said, "Do you still have them?" And they didn't. So I suggested they needed more. And I sold a lot. And then I found out that one of my competitors was a family, a trio of kids, and they put all of their sales together, and their mother owned a store. I couldn't win. But for people that wonder why I left academia, they have to understand that part of me that was always a bit of a salesman. And so when I left academia, it was a journey toward sales, journey through sales. And I decided to make a choice that I made the other choice back in 1993 when I decided to go into academia and not chase business. I chose to chase business for the last 15, 20 years of my career. What's that like? I'll tell you, there's no greater status drop, a social status drop from college professor to door knocker.
Okay.
When you tell people you're a college professor, they get excited. They want to know more about it. Yeah. There's immediate respect. If you tell someone you're knocking doors, they wonder what's wrong with you. Now, why was I knocking doors? Because to get inside, to be a salesperson, you have to start at the bottom. So I had a gun pulled on me. I had a dog bite me. I had things yelled at me. I was treated worse than I would imagine anybody would treat a person. But it was because I was a door knocker. And so I wish I would have done that when I was 20 or 21 or 22, because I learned a lot on the doors. I learned a lot. We used to practice taking it. So here, hint for all the people out there that don't want a door knocker. If you don't want me knocking on your door, get rid of the no soliciting sign.
Interesting.
We see that as an invitation for practice. So the more intricate that sign, the more we believe that you cannot say no. So those big long signs with all the things on it, there were guys that would they'd look at it and they go, "Oh, that's mine." And they just kind of beeline to that house. Me, I stayed off of that. I don't like knocking on the door and getting yelled at. That was not my thing. But the good door knockers, they love it. And so if you don't want people knocking on your door, put a sign, baby sleeping or day sleeper. Those are the only two signs that everybody will respect. Any other sign is an invitation to be knocking on your door.
Jon, that's fascinating. You know, you talk about a status drop, and I think there's something there. This is about you, not about me, but I'm going to divert for a minute. I'm thinking about retiring. I'm within probably 2 years of retiring. And one of the things that I hesitate about is a status drop, so to speak, between being an employed college professor and an unemployed retiree. And so I think that it's a really valuable insight into that just change in life, and how others perceive us?
Well, it was surprising to the degree to which my friends in the academic community kind of disappeared as well. There was oh, you're not with us anymore. Goodbye. And that there was a transition period where I was not very happy. I've kind of moved past that, but it was an intriguing experience to start knocking doors and working with people, age 20 to 25, age 20 to 30 were my peers mostly. And those were also the age of most of my students. They were very different people, remarkably different people. And the things that our students cared about, this group of people did not care about. And I learned a little bit about knocking doors beside people that had been in prison or heading to prison, or, there's a lot of different things going on. People that had never been in prison, but just didn't live the world, the academic world that we were in. So I was very grateful for that time. It lasted a little longer than I wanted it to. I started selling solar, as you know.
Yes, I
started selling solar probably the second worst time to sell solar, because insurance or interest rates had raised to over 10%. The whole lexicon had changed. So it took longer to get in home. I loved being in home. I love going in there. There's a lot of education in that. I didn't like the upselling. I didn't like the lying part of being in home. I could give a lot of people some advice on how to get better prices when they have a quote from somebody now, because I know what we did to raise the price.
Yeah, you're an insider now.
I'm an insider, right? So I did solar until I was invited to start with a roofing company, and I love selling roofing. That was a real hoot. Where people would argue solar doesn't work, nobody argued that a roof doesn't work. So the whole conversation changed. The problem was standing on top of a roof. I was on top of a 3rd-story roof on a 712 pitch. If you don't know what that means, it raises 7 feet for every 12 feet in horizontal. Looking down, thinking if I fall, I could die, and I might not even make this sale. And people don't even know. I'm commission only. If you are meeting with me, I don't get paid if I don't make a sale, which is fine. That's the world we live in. But when you're doing something dangerous and you're not going to make a sale, it makes it hard to be there. So I asked Indeed for job recommendations. I was looking for work, and it said, well, check this job out. Maybe this is a good fit. And I looked at it and thought, I don't know if I could do that job. And of course, it's what I'm doing now. I'm an advanced funeral planner. And part of the reason I want to do this podcast is this is a space that a lot of those psych graduates that don't want to go to grad school, sales generally is a good space for that. Yeah. I was making better money in roofing and solar than I made as a college professor. And
Interesting.
The markup in roofing, I was looking to make double my salary that I was in college professor. So I'm an advanced funeral planner. I sell burials and cremations. Why is this good for psychology? There's so many levels. One is you are dealing with people in a very tight conversation. Yeah. Sometimes they want to be there. Sometimes they don't want to be there. But everybody's interaction with death is very unique. And they need you to respond to them wherever they are. And it doesn't matter where you might want to be. It's where they are. Sometimes they're easy. Sometimes they're not. When I'm sitting with a family where somebody's terminal, it's not an easy conversation. When I'm sitting with someone that they're 90, I had somebody that was 93. And I said, what do you do for work? So he laughed. You know where you got. And so the conversation itself has value for psychologists. But sales generally, I get to wear a tie instead of the polo shirt. So yeah, I think it's a great.
John, I listened to your story and I hear so many parallels. I mean, meeting your clients where they're at and they're all having unique experiences. You might say clients, I'm hearing students. I mean, I think there's some overlap, don't you think, with the skill set? And just to back up one minute, I also think, and tell me if this is anywhere near correct for you, that what you're selling right now and the sales experiences you've had in the past 2 years, do you think you were selling in the classroom except you were selling ideas? Or does that not really hold as an analogy?
No, it does hold. Well, you know me from other spaces as well. I spent a lot of time selling a lot of things outside the classroom as a college professor.
I know you did very successfully. Psych-Chi, WPA, and among others.
Right.
Book series.
But in the classroom, you're selling the idea of learning. I don't like the lecture part of it. I don't like to convince you to believe what I'm trying to share as part of the lecture. But to me, what I was trying to do in the classroom was to convince you that being in that room itself was valuable. Like the journey of learning, that was the sale. Because, the grade doesn't matter in the end. The grade is something that is recorded. And the way grade inflation is now, it doesn't even really distinguish you that much. But where are you 5 years from now? Did you learn to learn? That was the sale. So absolutely, I think faculty often are not, they don't admit that they sell things. They don't like to sell themselves more often than not, for sure.
MHS, a sponsor of Psych Sessions, is providing a free ADHD webinar. From one person to another, ADHD can look pretty different between youth and adults over the course of a lifespan. And our understanding of ADHD and the ways that we support people are evolving too. So join MHS for Unmasking ADHD, Practical Strategies to Empower Youth and Adults. This is a free webinar series upcoming for psychology students and faculty and school and clinical psychologists who want to better recognize ADHD. These sessions will explore executive function, the impact of ADHD across the lifespan, the overlap with autism, and the role of performance validity testing. You can hear from leading experts, including Dr. Jack Naglieri, Dr. Elizabeth Sparrow, Dr. Sam Goldstein, and Dr. Cecil Reynolds, as they share practical tools, real cases, and the latest research to support your studies or practice. So whether you're in the classroom or working in a clinic or just beginning a career, this series will equip you with strategies to make a meaningful difference. You can reserve your spot at MHS.com/ADHD-webinar-series-2025. That is MHS.com/ADHD-webinar-series-2025. And you can join a community committed to improving lives through a better understanding of ADHD.
But yeah, there's a lot of similarities in that space.
Yeah, especially when I hear you say things like, you're sitting with someone and some of them want to be there and some of them don't want to be there. I'm thinking, yeah, you're describing the current college classroom.
Yeah. Well, so one of the reasons I left the academic space is that students had changed so radically in the 30 years that I'd been in academia. And you've been there longer. I didn't want to, the percentage of students that didn't want to be in the room had grown beyond what I was willing to do. And you're dealing with, the most I've had in a room is 5 people in a sale. And, normally it's 2 people. The other thing that I do that's educational is I do these monthly presentations. So I host a dinner and then I do a 30-minute presentation on why they should pre-plan.
Okay.
And when during the interview, when they told me I was going to do that, I was like, if that's all I did, if you could send me 5 days a week out across the country doing these presentations, that would be it for me. So there's a lot of overlap in terms of what I did skill set wise and what I do now. The biggest difference is there's no expectation for research at all. There's no scholarship expectation, and there's no service, which I don't miss the service.
Or maybe, depending how you characterize it, it's all service, right? I mean, selling, meeting with people, meeting one-on-one, two-on-one, giving monthly talks.
Well, I was thinking about the 3 parts to the academic.
Sure.
Right. Sure. If you want to call everything that I'm doing now service, then it's not teaching.
Yeah. No, but you're right. There is teaching. I mean, you are educating the public in a very emotional time about important decisions.
Well, and I don't have to be a hard sell either. In solar, the problem was solar's worth as much as I can convince you it's worth. It literally is whatever that, and that's why solar's got this bad rap right now, that people went out there and really good salespeople would convince you it's worth sometimes double what it should have been charged at. When people sit down with me, there's a price list. Like, these are the prices. And sometimes they'll say, well, is there a discount? Like, no, these are the prices. And this is the chart. And I love so much being at the place where I say, okay, this is what I think you need. Here's what it costs. And they say, I can't afford that. I say, I'm sorry. That's just what the prices are. So that's freeing for me, because you know me, I love to be honest. I love to be just truthful in every way that I am. And there's a piece of sales that I'm not comfortable with, which is being a little bit misleading.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Jon, I think of you, applying all of your social psychology skills. I mean, when you talk about solar, I'm thinking that could easily be a chapter in a Cialdini persuasion and influence book, right? I mean, he did the Hare Krishna thing. I mean, he did so many different things, so many different industries. I mean, you're kind of replicating that in your own way.
In a way, I did read his book. I know him, through academic circles, and I read his book the first month that I was in solar to remind myself of what he did. I have a book in my mind that I'd like to write about my journey. I don't want to give anything away here because it's not even started yet. But the biggest difference is I didn't approach this from a scholarship perspective, right? I approached it from a life journey perspective. If we live hopefully 90 years and we work until we're 70, I left academia at 53. And so in my mind, I've got 15 to 20 years of work left in me. And I only had one job. And that, in the darkest depths of a winter period where I wasn't happy, the fact that I'd only had one job my entire life. You put a question in our prep minutes. When we were kids, did we say, where are you going to college, or what college do you want to go to? That is not what we had. And I did it with my kids as well. My father, when we were in elementary school, asked what we were going to get our doctorate in.
Wow.
And the reason he did that was if you're always focused on getting a PhD, you never wonder about college. You're not deciding on whether to go to college. That's not the decision. The decision is, do I go to grad school? And so when I was 14, I decided to be a college professor. And when I was 15, I decided to be a psychology professor. And so after 40 years, essentially, of these blinders on of what I was going to do, I woke up and said, wait, I'm going to die. And I've only done one thing. And so, what else can I do? So I don't know that this is my last job.
Sure.
But I really enjoy being with families. Again, I was with a family last week where the son was terminal. That is so difficult, right? Yeah. Nobody should have to bury their child.
That's exactly right.
And so those are hard. Those are emotional. But even, if the 80, 90-year-old, most of the time, they're okay with that conversation. They're not in a bad space. So most of the time, I'm having a great time. And the clients, the families are shocked. They expect me to be sad and grave and dark. And, that none of that has to happen. None of it. And so this has been a great place for me to work on. There's these little things you learn to do as a salesperson, and I'm practicing those at the same time that, you're helping somebody avoid. If you're out there listening to this and you have not pre-planned your final wishes, you really should. Because if you don't, the things that could happen at that time, it's a very emotional time.
Right.
If it's not planned out, you have a long conversation with a funeral director. Now, they are salespeople too, and they get bonuses for how much they get per funeral. And if you're coming in there in a sad moment, we can get a lot more money out of you. And so if you come in ahead of time, you can make sure that what you want is what you get, and your kids then don't have to fight about it.
Right. It's a very parallel argument. It strikes me to having a will.
Having
a will to pre-plan.
Right. And the other big thing about pre-planning is locking down prices.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're 50 and you pre-plan, you could be saving 30 or 40 years worth of inflation on your final expense. So those are the big reasons why people do it.
Yeah. And John, it just sounds like, and like you mentioned earlier, we've known each other for a while in different contexts. It's first off, I don't think you're faking. I don't know if I've ever seen you fake anything.
No.
But secondly, it sounds like you're having the time of your life. Is that fair to say? Or
the time of my life?
You're enjoying life.
I'm enjoying life. Yeah. So I don't only do this. I do have some other things going on. I am not working. I'm working harder now than I was before I left academia. That's certainly true. I do miss summer.
Right. Summer's off. Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons I left academia is I'd never took a summer off. Every summer would come and go. I'm like, I just spent the whole summer working. Why am I taking summers off and not getting paid if I am working?
Right.
But I do miss the freedom of choice. What am I doing today? Well, I'm either going to work or I'm going to do this other thing. And that choice, that's gone. I have to go where my schedule dictates. But I'm still doing academic stuff. I still have scholarly projects going on. I've got something else in the works that if it starts, you need to call me back for volume or episode
part 3. Absolutely.
But I still work with the Collaborative Publications Education Project. I have a weekly meeting with the executive director. I still work with the Emerging Adulthood Measured at Multiple Institutions. So that project is ongoing. We're collecting data this fall. And I work with a group of editors learning how to do an edited volume. And so I still have, I think I had 4 articles published last year. I still have scholarship churning. It's just, it's not required.
You're one of the most productive non-academics around, man.
Believe me, I'm amused by that myself from time to time.
And this might be too much in the weeds. What will your affiliation be on those publications?
Well, some of them are PLU because the work happened while I was there.
Okay.
Some of them are with Illumin Analytics.
Oh, sure.
I'm a consultant with Illumin Analytics. And so when it's new, it comes out from there.
Gotcha. Hey, John, talk to our audience a little bit about one of those projects, the Women of Color series, because that's probably, actually, I know about your crepe stuff, and do you say EAMI? How do you? EAMI. I know of that, obviously, just from working with you and beside you, but talk about that, because that's ongoing, and to my delight, I still see you on some email chains about the Women of Color.
Yeah. So that's another project that's we've got announcements coming for that soon. Rihanna Mason and I, with Michelle Sainer, we published 2 books on celebrating women of color who earned their PhD in psychology before 1980, Volume 1, and 1990, Volume 2. And essentially, we're trying to offer faculty an opportunity to diversify the curriculum across the entire course structure without having to go buy a whole bunch of new books. Textbook authors are slow to respond. It takes time to make this stuff happen. And, having diversity in a box in a chapter is just not right. And so these books offer faculty an opportunity to have very either just informational level diversity, equity information, or deep, deep dives, right? We know some people that are using them as textbooks. So we had 40 women that we celebrated in those 2 volumes. We were planning Volume 3, and Rihanna solicited a research assistant who then used an APA directory to compile more. And we're over 1,000 women now that we've identified.
Wow.
And one of the questions I've asked Rihanna a couple of times is, how many women are there? Like, if you go from 1912, which is the first one, to 1990, how many women of color earned their doctorate in psychology in that time period? It's more than 1,000, because we now hit that number. And so we were trying to figure out what to do. And instead of having a 3rd volume, we're going to have a ongoing treatise. And so we're soon going to make a call for authors who are going to essentially write a chapter that we're going to publish online. And we're just going to have a series of online chapters.
And that'll be easy to update and, add to, as opposed to, the publication lag and all those things.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jon, you're still stirring the pot in academia, but in a good way. I'm sorry. You giggled. I meant in a good way. That's how I meant it.
Sure.
What is there? Do you miss the classroom at all, or do you miss the research lab, or you've kind of made your peace with that? And it's like, I love the classroom that I'm in right now.
I don't know what it would take to get me back in the classroom.
Gotcha.
It would have to be, there were things that I really, really enjoyed about the classroom.
Sure.
When I was ready to leave the classroom, the love had gone away. I can't stop being an educator, but standing in front of 12 to 50 to 100 individuals and delivering lectures in a classroom setting, there's so much I don't miss about it. There are parts of the research aspect. I mean, I'm still doing it.
Right. Yeah. Maybe you kept the best for yourself.
There's things that I'd like to do. If I could do anything I wanted, I would be more involved in a certain aspect of research right now. I cannot figure out a way to make that pay. And so because of that, it's going to be aspirational for a while.
So you're being cryptic, and I'm
not intending. It's beavers. It's all about beavers. So about my wetlands, right? We own 10 acres of wetlands in southwestern Washington, and we have families of beavers on there and beaver dams and beaver ponds. And, we live in a society where water is becoming more and more scarce, and fresh water even more so. And beavers are better than humans at storing it. And at the same time, beavers are held back from storing water at so many levels, at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, at the perceptual level. So the cost of wetlands is about 50% of the cost of developing land. So if I have wetlands, my number one goal, if I'm money focused, is to convert it from wetlands into something that has dollar value.
Sure.
The opposite should be happening. We should have Somebody just bought the property next to us down at the wetlands, and it's a 20-acre horse farm. And I won't go into it here because people will hate me, but horses are a real problem for the environment.
Okay.
And horse farms are the opposite of what we need for wetlands. And so what should happen is that those people should be wanting to let that land reconvert. But if they did that, the value of their property would plummet.
Right.
So what we need is to identify mechanisms to change the value perception of aspects of land so that people will want them. So the best thing that could happen for this planet right now is for people to choose things that would benefit the planet because they want them. I don't know if you've changed your yard since the last time I saw you, but you have a pretty typical backyard, right?
Yeah.
It's grass, right?
Grass, yeah.
If everybody in the country took a little part of their yard and converted it into a more wild space that was more friendly to bees and birds, a lot of our problems would be solved. But we don't do that because of perceptual problems and HOAs and city. And so if somebody could pay me to work on that space, that's where I'd really like to go.
Yeah, John, I'm listening to the passion that you have about this as you're talking, and I'm thinking, you're not in your last job.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not in your last job.
If you are my management or owners of the company that I'm working for now, I love you. I like what I'm doing, right. And I'm not looking to leave right at this moment.
Of course.
So I've looked at work with beavers. Like, could I work in that space? And I just can't find what I'm looking for.
Would that be like a wildlife management or BLM?
I don't have those criteria. Now I need a biology degree, and I don't have that. But yeah, a consultant role going around and convincing people that their land would be better served. It's a very complex problem that we won't solve on this episode. But what I always say is, if the billionaires cared, the world would change. And so if billionaires got excited about beavers, all of a sudden, everybody would want to have beavers on their property. And so I'd like to figure out a way to change the mindset so that people want wetlands, people want their backyard to be green and lush. If you come to my yard, there's not much grass to mow.
Well, John, and I know you've been passionate about the environment and recycling for a long time. I'm thinking about a story that I heard from you 5, maybe 10 years ago when you were discarding a mattress, if I'm getting this right. And rather than throwing the mattress or taking it to a dump, you disassembled the mattress and separated like the fabric from the springs. Am I getting this right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And you did it by hand?
Correct.
So for our listeners out there, John's not somebody who's just talking a game. You know, he read a blog about beavers, and this is what. If John's talking about it, it means he's passionate about it, and he will put his time and his money into doing what's right. I know this for a fact.
Well, our weekly entertainment is to go down to the property, and we're currently building an island out of grasses and shrubs that are invasive. We're going to build an island and then plant trees and plants that beavers eat, so that we're reconverting that back into more attractive space. Anyway, that's where you ask that passion is still there for research. I'd love to study that space in more depth.
Yeah. And I mean, somebody might want you to have a degree in biology, but I think your research chops could serve you in collecting data in the natural environment about what happens and, longevity and mortality of beavers. I mean, I think the research chops that you have would serve you well.
Well, I want to go sit in the room with the group of townspeople who are talking about the problems they have with beaver and walk through the negatives, positives, and solutions, because that's where beaver die, is on private property where they're annoying a landowner.
Yeah, and John, that to me, that's just another version of sales, right?
Right, exactly right.
No, seriously, it's about
That's right.
persuasion and influence, and
yeah,
you're back to selling an idea or a behavior that could be beneficial for multiple parts of the environment.
So one of the beauties of a sales job is that you own a little more of your time. And again, it sounds like contradictory to what I said before about losing summers. But if I can say on Tuesday, I'm not taking any appointments. On Tuesday, I'm going to devote my time to learning about beavers, or I'm going to devote my time to reading about women of color who are in their PhD before 1990. So it allows me to do some of these other things that if I was in a 9-to-5 job, I've had a lot of people say, well, go get one of those research jobs at, a big company, 120,000, 150,000 a year, and they're looking for PhDs. I'd lose my time. All of my time would then become a 9-to-5 to someone else.
Right.
And I still like that ability to say, yes, if you want me to sit with you and help you learn how to be an editor, I can do that. Let me cut some time out of my other work schedule and do that. So I'm hoping in time that this job will allow me to cut out part of my day so that I've got these two very vibrant, distinct activities going on at the same time.
Yeah, but it's funny you say two, but you've really got about six.
Yes.
If we go back to the list, you've got about 6 vibrant activities that you're passionate about.
Well, and so what's the other option? The other option is to me be
a 9-to-5er.
Morbid future.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Whether it's the type of flexibility you think about, or I think about as a current college professor, I don't know the formula on how to do this, but the flexibility that I have has financial value. And it has personal value that, when my kids were little, I was a divorced dad. I could spend all day with them. I could take them to the pool, which I did all the time as a divorced dad. We have a puppy now at home. My Lisa, not your Lisa. We have a puppy now. And so when Lisa's going off to do something, I can normally go home and be with the puppy. And so that freedom and flexibility has a great deal of value.
It does.
Yeah, it does. John, what else is going on? I think I saw a Facebook post the other day where you're not playing in a band anymore. Is that correct? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the bigger mistakes I made in life was to pause the band last spring.
Oh.
So band practice was Mondays from 4 to 7, 4 to 8. And a lot of solar and roofing appointments were Monday night. And so I either could cancel practice or skip the appointment. And either one of those, that was very expensive. So when I'd skip the appointment and have practice, then my head wasn't in practice. And if I'd skip practice to have the appointment, then the band is struggling. So last April, I told the band I needed a break to focus on my career. In November, I said I'm ready to come back, but the lead guitarist isn't ready to come back. So he's in 3 bands, and the other ones are more productive. And one of them's called the Murph Tones, and his last name's Murph. So it's losing that band. They were the best guys I've ever played with. That was a little sad. And then how do you restart? And so the restart process has been difficult. When you play bass, you need people. You can't go out to open mic alone. I pulled the trumpet out. I'm actually looking at the trumpet over there. I practiced it a couple times. We have a dog living with us now. We have a tenant who has a dog, and that dog lost his brain when I played the trumpet. And so I could torture a dog or I could play trumpet. And so I'm in a space right now where I don't have a musical outlet. I want a musical outlet, but I don't know how to get it started. The same time, and this is weird, listening to music no longer serves a passion for me.
Really?
And that is the first time in my entire life where I've been in that space. All the old music, I feel like I've listened to it too much. And none of the new music, I just can't find anything post 92, 93. The last 30 years of music have not spoken to me. So that is difficult because, as you know, I've written music to go through.
I've got a CD.
Right. I wrote music to advance open science. Music was always such an important part. And I wanted to start a little punk band at the beginning of this year, and I just couldn't find the other musicians.
I'm not going to get the title exactly right. Something about It Ain't About Skip.
My Name Ain't Skip.
My Name Ain't Skip. Thank you. We had 2 albums back in the
early teens. You probably have The Year, which was every song was a month.
Yes, that is the CD that I have.
Yeah, you're supposed to listen to that on repeat, and just because as you get to the end and you restart, there are 4 themes, and one of them's death. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. The recurring theme, of course.
Well, here's a remarkably funny story about that. I realized this is my 11th month as an advanced planner. Sometime last year, I realized my high school residence was in a funeral home.
Okay.
How did that happen? My dad got married my junior year of high school and moved out of the school district. And I was going to have to go to a new high school for my senior year. And so my dad was talking to the administration, and they said, just get him an address. He can move with you. He doesn't have to live in West York, but he has to have an address in West York. So they got the Kohler Funeral Home because Dad was friends with the Kohlers. They served as my address. And it just tickles me pink to this day. It was nothing back in the day, but I lived quote unquote in a funeral home for
right. There was an underlying linkage that was being formed that was going to be latent until it emerges years later.
One of the things I think about often is you would say how important it is for us to remember the 70% of students that don't go to grad school.
Yeah.
And the funeral director at the primary funeral home I work at, her major was psychology. There are tons of jobs, not mine, in the funeral industry that have very high turnover, that they're not great paying jobs, but they're often our funeral techs, they can go to college because you work if you can't work, that's fine. It's just, here's a job that's available to you. It's off hours, so it doesn't always conflict with school. And so, it's not for everybody. You got to be able to deal with death, and that's not a little thing. But for somebody who is not interested in grad school, wants to help people, being a funeral director, there's a school. You're going to end up going to school to be a funeral director, but it's not a bad job, and there will always be a need.
Yeah, absolutely. Jon, I want to be respectful of the time, and I want to give you kind of the last word here in a minute. I just want to say to you, since I've got you on screen, and whether we're recording or not, I would say this, man, I miss you. I miss our Psych-Chi days together. I miss our WPA conference time together. It's so good to connect with you again. have really missed hanging out with you and doing stuff together and leading together. I miss you, buddy.
Well, I miss you as well. That's the other thing I miss about the academic space is that there were work trips that were,
right,
also pleasurable. That's gone. And I don't get to see a lot of people that I used to see pretty regularly. I will say in April in Tacoma, Western Psych Association will be here. I haven't yet asked, but I'm going to see whether or not I can get my company to have a table there to try to recruit people to come work for us. But if not, I think that I might have a talk or two being planned for me. We'll see. But I'm assuming you'll be at WPA.
You know what? I will make a sincere effort. The month before, at the end of March, Rocky Mountain Psych will actually be in Boise, and I'm actually the convention manager. So, but in April, Tacoma sounds lovely, especially if I get to see you.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Jon, in thinking about today, was there anything that you wanted to make sure that you said that we haven't covered, or any final thoughts, last words?
Well, to anyone that's still listening to the podcast,
and we want them to listen all the way.
When your friends leave academia, they don't have to stop being your friends. There was no scandal that I ran away from. I just left academia. And I've seen this in a lot of people, that academics seem to kind of all turn around and assume bad things and disappear. So I do kind of feel like academics turn their back on me. I was very grateful to have this invite to be able to say,
of course,
I'm still more productive than a bunch of academics that are taking.
Right. You have 4 pubs a year. I haven't had 4 pubs a year, and maybe 6-7 years ago. You're being more productive than I am in the publishing sphere.
Well, Psych
seriously,
podcast is bigger than that.
But Jon, I think you're exactly right. I think academics are lazy. And so if we don't, I think many of them are lazy. I should be careful. So if we don't have a conference to go to, or an event, or we're part of a executive board or whatever, I think we get lazy. And I know I do. Maybe I should frame it that way. And so, but friendships just take effort, and I appreciate our friendship very much.
Well, I am so glad that you are helping with the Women of Color podcast. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're doing a very small part, but absolutely we're going to support it 1,000%.
And it's always good seeing you. I look forward to seeing you when you're here in Tacoma. If you ever want to come visit the wetlands, come on down. I know you're over on the side of the state.
I need a beaver tour is what I'm going to need.
To see the beaver, you really need to come in April.
It sounds like I might be there in April.
Maybe.
You see how that jumped up a notch from I'm going to meet up with you at a hotel, that I'm going to come to your 10 acres in your backyard.
That's right.
See what happened there?
Yeah.
Well, Jon, thank you so much. When you're ready to announce other projects, part 3 is a done deal.
There's a big one coming. And actually, I probably want to talk to you about this off channel, but there's a big one coming.
Good. Well, Jon, again, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for giving me some time. You guys have a great day.
You bet.